What if the unthinkable happens? The choice is clear. Prepare now or risk everything.
Imagine waking up in 2 weeks to frozen bank accounts, empty grocery shelves, and skyrocketing prices on everything from gas to groceries. Sounds like a dystopian movie. It's not. We're just 14 days away from a potential tipping point that could shake the foundations of our economy and way of life. Hi, I'm your prepper, and in this video, we're diving into 3 critical warning signals that most people are overlooking right now. These aren't conspiracy theories, they're based on real, unfolding events. Stick around, because I'll also share practical, step-by-step ways you can prepare your family for what's ahead. Let's get into it. Signal 1. Federal funding deadline. First up, the January 30th, 2026 federal funding deadline. Right now, as of January 17th, that's exactly 13 days from today, close enough to 14 for alarm bells. According to reports from the Congressional Budget Office and major outlets like PBS and the Associated Press, Congress passed a continuing resolution in November 2025 after a record 43-day government shutdown that disrupted everything from air travel to food assistance programs. That CR expires on January 30th, funding key agencies like Homeland Security, Justice, and Commerce. If lawmakers fail to pass the remaining 6 spending bills amid ongoing disputes over issues like border security and Affordable Care Act extensions, we're looking at another partial shutdown. The last one furloughed 750,000 federal workers and delayed SNAP benefits for millions. This time, with midterm elections looming and political gridlock in Washington, the risk is real. It won't collapse society overnight, but expect delays in services, market volatility, and supply chain hiccups that could hit your wallet hard or make you or your loved one vulnerable. Signal 2. Global uncertainty around the U.S. The growing global uncertainty surrounding the United States. The World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report for 2026 ranks geoeconomic confrontation as the top risk for a material global crisis this year, up from previous rankings. Eurasia Group and Time magazine both highlight 2026 as a tipping point due to U.S. internal political shifts under President Trump, including efforts to reshape alliances and trade policies. With the U.S. pulling back from traditional multilateral roles, think NATO strains and tariff threats, countries like China and Russia are filling the void, leading to fragmented global trade and heightened tensions. In Europe, weak governments in France, Germany, and the UK face populist pressures, while conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East persist. The IMF warns that these geopolitical tensions, combined with U.S. policy volatility, could slow global growth to 2.1% in 2026, down from recent projections. For everyday Americans and folks worldwide, this means potential energy price spikes, job market instability, and a world where U.S. leadership isn't the stabilizing force it once was. Signal 3. The quiet but accelerating shift away from the U.S. dollar in global trade and finance. This isn't hype. J.P. Morgan reports that emerging market central banks, led by China, Russia, and Turkey, have doubled their gold reserves to 9% over the past decade as an alternative to dollar holdings. BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are settling over 50% of their trade in local currencies, like the yuan and ruble, bypassing the dollar entirely. Russia and China alone handle 90% of their deals this way. Saudi Arabia has signaled openness to pricing oil in non-dollar currencies, eroding the petrodollar system that's underpinned U.S. economic power since the 1970s. Morgan Stanley predicts the dollar could depreciate another 10% by end 2026 due to these trends and U.S. policy uncertainties. While the dollar won't vanish overnight, this de-dollarization means higher inflation risks, weaker purchasing power for imports, and potential instability in global markets. Together, these signals point to rising costs, delays, and economic turbulence ahead. None of this guarantees a total collapse, but ignoring it could leave you vulnerable. The good news? You can prepare now with smart, actionable steps that don't require a bunker or a fortune. Here's how to build resilience in 5 key areas: food and water, self-sufficiency, power, finances, and community. These are designed to get you through short-term disruptions or longer instability. Let's break them down. Preparation 1. Food and water. Start with the basics, food and water. Aim for a 1-month supply per person to start, then build to 3 months. For water, store at least 1 gallon per person per day. That's 30 gallons for a family of 4 for a month, or as much as you can afford comfortably. Use food-grade containers or buy pre-packaged emergency kits from reputable sources like the Red Cross. Rotate stock to keep it fresh. For food, focus on non-perishables with a long shelf life. Stock canned goods like beans, tuna, and vegetables. Aim for 2,000 calories per day per adult. Add rice, pasta, and oats. They're cheap and store well. To build a 1-year supply affordably, buy in bulk from warehouse clubs, targeting 25 pounds of rice per person per year, 20 pounds of beans per person per year, and 10 pounds of pasta per person per year. Include multivitamins to cover nutritional gaps. Pro tip, learn basic canning or dehydration techniques using affordable home kits to preserve garden produce or bulk buys. Next is self-sufficiency. Reduce reliance on fragile supply chains by growing your own food. Start a small garden, even in urban spaces, with easy wins like tomatoes, lettuce, and herbs in pots or raised beds. Invest in heirloom seeds under $50 for a starter pack that you can replant annually. Learn skills like basic first aid through free apps or community classes from organizations like the American Heart Association. Stock a toolkit with essentials: duct tape, multi-tool, flashlight, and batteries. For hygiene, store soap, toilet paper, 1 month's worth per person, and a portable toilet setup if needed. This isn't about going off-grid, it's about bridging gaps when stores run low. Power. Power outages could compound any crisis, so compare options: solar versus generators. Solar is sustainable and quiet. Start with a portable panel kit around $200 that charges phones, lights, and small appliances. For more power, a 300-watt system can run a refrigerator intermittently. Generators are reliable for short bursts, but noisy and fuel-dependent. Get a dual-fuel model, gas or propane, with 5,000 watts output for essentials like well pumps or heaters, and store 20 to 30 gallons of stabilized fuel. Hybrid approach. Use solar for daily needs and a generator as backup. Test everything monthly to ensure it works, and don't forget battery banks for devices. Finances. Protect your money amid volatility. Diversify holdings. Keep 3 to 6 months' expenses in cash or a high-yield savings account. Current rates around 5 to 5.5%. Reduce debt aggressively, starting with high-interest credit cards. Invest in tangible assets. Allocate 5 to 10% to gold or silver coins, physical, not ETFs, as a hedge against dollar weakness. Central banks are doing the same. Use apps like Mint to track spending and build a budget that cuts non-essentials. If you're global, consider stable foreign currencies like the euro in a multi-currency account, but keep most in USD for now. Avoid panic-selling stocks. Focus on dividend-paying U.S. companies in essentials like utilities. Finally, community. You're stronger together. Connect with neighbors via apps like Nextdoor to form mutual aid groups, share skills, tools, or even gardens. Join local preparedness networks through FEMA's Community Emergency Response Team CERT training. It's free and teaches coordination for disasters. Build bartering networks. Trade excess food for services like repairs. In a global context, if you're outside the U.S., link up with international expat groups for shared intel on supply issues. Remember, community turns survival into thriving. These steps aren't about fear, they're about empowerment. Start small today. Pick one area and act. If you found this valuable, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. This is just the beginning of our journey to smart preparedness. What's your first prep step? Comment below. Stay vigilant, stay prepared. I'll see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Give us a like,
Subscribe,
and comment
below.
See you next time.
Bye.